Hello and good afternoon again to everybody. I'm David Thomas. I'm chair of the Environmental and Waste Management Group. This session is shared, as you know, amongst 3 IOSH groups, and I welcome everybody else from the other groups into the session, and I hope you're getting something from it. My first thing is I'd ask that people do not ask questions until at least 1:30. I'd like to give Emma, our speaker, a chance to explain her subject and her ideas and thoughts with you first, because what you ask you may actually be covered later on. From an IOSH EWMG point of view, we have meetings on a fortnightly basis. The exception is that tomorrow night at 6:30 with Mid Shires branch, we're doing an update on the Waste Industry Safety and Health Forum and the EWMG's interaction with it as a joint Zoom meeting. So that's a chance to actually physically come and discuss and talk to me. I'd ask as well, please do not put questions on the chat. I know it's been mentioned in the preamble beforehand, and we will try in the last 20 minutes answer as many questions as possible in that time. Before I introduce you to Emma formally, I actually put into Google just now, or Scholar Google, which is where peer-reviewed journals appear. I put in the phrase sleep affecting work performance. I got 680,000 hits or papers being suggested. So this is a huge subject. We are going to skim the surface of it. So once I've introduced them, there's Emma Cook, who's given a short brief bites to Chiltern branch about a month or so ago, from her own company, Purely Balanced. I've got that correctly for the t-shirt correctly.
Yeah.
And I will hand over now to Emma. I'll let her introduce herself or what she works. And right now, I'd ask the first questions to come up. There are 4 questions to ask at the start and a couple at the end that maybe to reflect for you for going forward. So if you put the first questions up, please, and then give that for a second, then Emma, we can start. So just give that for a second.
Okay, so do I need to come back to these at the end? Let's have a look. So we've got, how much of your life is spent asleep? Most of you said a third. Lack of sleep can be equivalent to how much alcohol? 3 pints. Oh, you're doing well. Have you experienced autopilot? Right. Everybody listening, pay attention to this one. 90% of you, 90, have said that you have experienced autopilot. We're going to come to that throughout the session. And have you worked shifts? Yeah, the majority of you have. Okay, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'm going to take you over a little bit about sleep and how it affects our work, how shift work affects our sleep, which then in turn affects our work. And I'm going to take you over a few slideshows. Once we've got to the end of it, some of the questions that we've asked at the beginning, you'll find the answers to. And at the end, I've actually got some top tips for you to improve your quality of sleep and just give you a different sort of outlook on how sleep is actually affecting you and your workforce. Okay, so stay awake, concentrate. Sleep is a vital factor and a risk factor to consider when designing work schedules and worker well-being. Now, just before we continue, the beeping in the background, I just want to tell you all, it's not my fire alarm, it's just my house alarm, so please ignore that. So who we actually are, okay? So I'm Emma Cook, and I'm from the company called Purely Balanced. We have challenged the status quo on health and well-being. What we believe in delivering is fast, easy, and effective sessions with good quality results, rather than coming in and taking a good few hours and weeks out of your employees' time. We just come and we give you 2 of our baseline sessions, which is a sleep well fatigue management session and a Be Kind to Your Mind resilience session. What we cover in these sessions are very easy how to use techniques and points. We don't come and give you a lot of jargon, we just give you the how-tos on what to do to help. We also tailor programs depending on the industries in which we work in. Some of them industries have been oil and gas. We work quite heavily within that sector. We work very heavily with the shift rotations in oil and gas, manufacturing, transport, retail, financial, education, healthcare, and IT. Now, as much as the range is quite diverse, the reason why it's diverse is because sleep affects everybody, and I mean everybody. Now, I'm going to cover it for you guys here, but this actually affects everybody that you know as well. Now, the reason being is because the challenges around sleep and sleeping poorly are poor health. So sleeping poorly affects you physically and mentally, and it then has a direct effect on giving you mistakes, whether it's in the workplace or at home. Now, this is just a few listed here, which is accidents. And did you know that there's 70% of accidents in the workplace are due to fatigued workers? And did you know that 20% of accidents on roads are down to fatigued road users? You then get things like data protection breaches by people being clumsy and forgetful when they are doing whatever it is that they're doing. And even it can go as far as incorrect drugs given to patients in hospitals. And this is all down to a lack of sleep, because a lack of sleep gives us a cognitive impairment in our mind where our focus isn't on point. Now, you all got this one right. So did you know we spend a third of our lives asleep? Now, you spend a third of your life asleep, but have you ever been told or shown how to sleep properly? I bet you haven't. Now, sleep plays a housekeeping role within our brain and body, okay? So although you think that you are falling asleep and to the untrained eye, you look like you are asleep, what's actually happening on the inside is your brain and body are going through a whole host of different things. In your deep sleep states, the brain starts to clean itself. It categorizes everything that you've learned from that day, whether it maybe is language, a skill, a function, something at work, and it starts to categorize and clean it away. So basically, its housekeeping role is to end your day and then get you ready and reset for the day to come. Now, I usually use an analogy here and say, sleep to the body is like a cleaning team to an office. If you imagine a 9-to-5 job in an office, you work 9 and finish at 5, then 6 till 10, a cleaning team come in. What that cleaning team does is puts everything away that you've used, files anything away that was new, basically gets the whole room ready for you to come back the next day. That's the equivalent of a good night's sleep and a good quality sleep. If you've had a poor quality sleep or you're having a few consecutive nights of bad sleep, this is the equivalent of you going to work 9 till 5, working longer, therefore the cleaning team can't come in. The cleaning team get less done because they've got less time. Their answer to that is, well, we'll just come back in the morning at 9 o'clock and we'll clean up around you. Now, you can imagine how detrimental that would be to your working day. It would be disruptive. You wouldn't get things done. You'd lose your focus. This is the same thing. So what sleep does is if you focus on a good sleeping quality, you can then be more productive and more proactive the following day because the brain and the body will have actually reset from the day before. Now, another thing to be aware of is we live in a world that is 24/7. We do not switch off. We don't seem to have an off switch, and neither does the world. We might work shifts. You might have people on your team that work shifts. Therefore, even though half of the world is going to bed, the other half is waking up. And it's constant. You don't even fall asleep anymore and switch off from the outside world. You've got your phone next to you. You've got emails that can come through. Knock the thing there. You've got emails that can come through. We live in a world that is ever increasing technologically. Now, what's then happening is because we're evolving technologically quicker than we're evolving evolutionary, our brains can't quite keep up. Now, the world's moving at a rapid pace. We are increasing everything. Everything's at the touch of a button. But all of a sudden, what's happening is we are now bombarded daily with all of these different outside factors. So by the time we come to go to sleep, we aren't just switching off from our day anymore. We're switching off from our technology. We're switching off from constant connection. We're switching off from these worldly worries that we've got because now we're readily available to find out all these different things. So all of a sudden, our sleep time is still impacted more by the fact that we've now got all of these outside factors. What then happens is because we run in a world that's 24/7, we come to go to bed in an evening, you might find that you feel like you're tired and fall asleep. But are you one of them people that falls asleep and gets a good quality sleep? Or are you one of them people that falls asleep and has a poor quality sleep, therefore wakes up feeling unrested? Now, I've got a little unrested test for you coming up, okay? But just to note here, okay, this world that we live in, that's 24/7, that's 24/7 without then adding workload, shift work, times to work. That is just literally us living a life of being 24/7. So all of these other factors start to take a toll in it as well. Now, I'm going to give you an unrested test, okay? So from wherever you are, I'd like you to please have a go at this, okay? So take everything out of your hands, pop your hands on your knees. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to do a breathing technique, okay? We'll do it together when I talk about it, but what it's going to actually do, when we close our eyes in the middle of the technique, I'm going to leave you there for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to tell you to come back round. When you come back round, I want you to notice if you feel jaded, dazed, fuzzy, or just a little bit kind of disorientated, okay? So just before we begin, ask yourself, would you say that you're tired now? Would you say that you feel unrested? Would you say that you are dazed right now, right this second? Okay? Now, place your hands on your knees, bring your shoulders up to your ears, down and round, and lengthen the back out. So you're basically opening the chest, okay? Keep your hands on your knees. Now we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So give it a go first and then slow that breathing down. Now keep staring at the screen just now. Don't close your eyes just yet. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, this is how you check if you are unrested. Take one hand and place it on your lower stomach. Now, what you want to do when you take the breath in through the nose, breathe in through the nose and imagine that you're pushing that breath out from your lower stomach, okay? So rather than breathing up with the shoulders, you're breathing out with the body. It does take a little bit of getting used to, okay? So in through the nose, exhale the body, expand out, and out through the mouth, bring the body back in. Now just keep that breathing long and slow it down. Now place your hand back on your knees. And even if you haven't quite got that, still try this next bit. Close your eyes, make sure that it's safe to do so. Close your eyes. Now it's really important that you close your eyes, okay, to actually test that you are unrested here. So eyes closed, and we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now keep going, don't open your eyes. Just in through the nose, make it lower, make it longer. We're just going to stay for a few seconds. And if you want to try and make that in-breath longer, breathe out longer, okay? Push all the oxygen out. Imagine someone's compressing the front and the back of your chest, really squeezing all the oxygen out. This will naturally make the inhale increase. Now just 5 more seconds, okay? So nice, long, low breath. Now remember, when I count down from 3, open your eyes, but if you feel dazed, jaded, a little bit disorientated, then you are unrested, and I'll explain why. So you ready? 3, 2, 1, open your eyes. Now, if you are a little bit like that, have a bit of a shoulder shake, okay, have a bit of a shake and bring yourself back to normal. So that's just a very small test, okay? So what you've actually technically just done there is you've just returned the body to something called homeostasis, which is balanced. We run in a world that is ever increasing, it's getting quicker, everything's getting quicker. We've just discussed that in the last slide, all right? What then happens is us as humans, we run with it, but because we are not evolving quickly enough to keep up, we use the human body in different ways now. So we're becoming a very unrested society. Now that was just a small test. By engaging that lower stomach, what you've actually done is you've brought the oxygen in your body right the way down to the bottom part of your lungs, basically meaning you've reset the body and you've rested. Now, if you opened your eyes and felt dizzy, jaded, or foggy, it's quite simply because that state of autopilot that you're all so commonly aware of, you've just induced that, okay? So what autopilot actually is it's the brain's way of saying, I haven't had enough sleep. And it's that cleaning team coming in saying, I'll just clean up around you. If you haven't had enough sleep in a deep sleep state in an evening, so that's not quantity of sleep, it's quality of sleep. And all of a sudden you wake up, your body and brain will continue to function during the day, but then your brain will try and take seconds here and there to catch up on sleep that it's lost. What you've just done by engaging your diaphragm, which is the lower belly breath, bringing the breath in, closing your eyes, you've returned your body to a state of homeostasis. The brain, if it was unrested, has gone straight into a state of autopilot. So if you were one of them people that's just opened your eyes and felt jaded, you are already running unrested. Now, it's something that we aren't quite aware of, but it's something that happens to us. So that's your little unrested test, okay? You can bring yourselves back to normal. Now, what actually happens when we are asleep is this. Sleep basically converts our short-term memory to our long-term memory. Like I said earlier, to the untrained eye, you just look like you're asleep. For years and years, they thought that sleep was an anomaly. They thought it was something that we did. They didn't ever pay attention to what it did while we were asleep. Therefore, it was always overlooked. We now run in a world that is shining spotlights on health and well-being and the human factor in all of our elements of work. And what we're now realizing is sleep is the foundation. You can drink all the water that you want, exercise, eat your vegetables. If you don't focus on a decent night's sleep, all of the above don't have near enough as an effect as what they should have. But if you get your sleeping pattern correct, even if you don't do the other ones, you'll still notice a difference, because sleep is so important to our brains and our bodies. It's in our sleep states, our deep sleep states, that we convert our short-term memory to long-term memory. It's when your immune system starts to heal itself, because in deep sleep state 3 and 4, the body produces something called cytokines. Cytokines is basically your body's immune system. So it's when you are asleep that you actually heal and repair. If you are not getting a deep enough sleep and a good quality sleep, all of a sudden, all of the other things have factors, because your immune system becomes compromised. Your mental state becomes compromised because your emotions are unbalanced. You've then got a multitude of things that don't get done because, again, it's in our sleep state where we categorize any event that we've had that day. This is why when you wake up on a morning after a poor night's sleep, you become forgetful and jaded. It's quite simply because the brain hasn't categorized all these different things. So again, it's like that cleaning team working around you. You might walk over to a filing system to look for a file, and there might be someone walking in front of you to start cleaning. You wouldn't be able to get to it. This is the same effect if we're not sleeping. Now, the other thing as well that sleep does is sleep returns us to a state of homeostasis. Because we run in a world that is unrested, we are running in a world where our cortisol, melatonin, testosterone, estrogen, they're all over the place. And they're all over the place anyway, because these stresses that we encounter on a day-to-day basis are just becoming more. Now, years and years ago, there used to be small, little, sort of every so often stresses. Now, we've got stresses like our social life, the economy, you've got work, you've got family, you've got all these direct stresses that, again, they're all at the touch of a button. So our emotions daily are more erratic than they've ever been before. Therefore, our mental health is on an increase of being quite poor. What happens in a decent sleep state is you reset the body and you return the body to a state of homeostasis, because when you are asleep and you're getting a good quality sleep, the brain resets all of these hormones and emotions. If you've had a poor quality sleep, and poor quality means you've either had it broken, you've fell asleep late, you haven't got enough, whatever it is, if that's the case, the following day when you wake up, your emotions and hormones are still unbalanced. Therefore, you are more likely to be stressed. You are more likely to be sick. You are more likely to be irritated. And all of these little things that we take as day-to-day sort of occurrences can actually be massively reduced by just improving the quality of our sleep. Now, something else as well, we asked this question in our poll. Sleep deprivation has the same impact on the brain as 2 pints of standard lager, okay? So there's a little fact here, and this is where your autopilot comes into it. Autopilot, like we've all said there, 90% of us have said that we've experienced it, okay? Let me give you a little fact about autopilot. If you are in autopilot, you have the cognitive impairment equivalent to having a blood alcohol level of 0.5%, meaning you'd technically be over the Scottish driving limit. Now, if you actually had a blood alcohol level of 0.5% and it was due to alcohol, you'd have a delayed reaction time of 3 to 5 seconds. If you had a fatigued mind and you had a cognitive impairment equivalent of having a blood alcohol level of 0.5%, but it was due to fatigue, that delayed reaction time goes up to 7 to 12 seconds. Taking me to the point I made earlier, 70% of accidents at work are caused by fatigue and 20% of accidents on roads are caused by fatigue. It's down to the state of mind. Now, you wouldn't drink and drive. You definitely wouldn't drink and drive your kids, but you'd do it tired, and yet your delayed reaction time, fatigue, is worse than having 2 pints of standard lager. And when you start to throw that factor in, think about your workforce. If you let your workforce work tired, they're working as if they are drunk. Most of the businesses that I work with, most of the businesses that I'm approached by, have zero tolerance to drugs and alcohol, but yet we don't do anything about fatigue. And when you start to notice these things, you start to realize how important this becomes, okay? So sleep deprivation has the same impact on the brain as 2 pints of standard lager. Now, going back to the autopilot state, we all recognize that autopilot is something that we've all been in. Now, what autopilot is, its science name is alpha state. So this is this cleaning team again. Autopilot is built into us to catch up on deep sleep states that we've missed out on. Such as, for example, say you fall asleep on an evening, but your sleep state's not the best. Now, that could be anything because you've got an unrested mind. It could be because you've got children in the next room. It could be because you live in a busy neighborhood. It could just be because you've just eaten too late that evening. But what ends up happening is, because you're not sleeping in a deep sleep state and you're not getting enough time in a deep sleep state, the brain wakes up the next day when your natural wake time is, gets up, and then the brain basically says, listen, I haven't caught up on what I needed to do, but you continue your day, and I'm just going to take a couple of seconds here and there. But the problem that we've got is we don't have control over that. So if you are unrested, sometimes through no fault of your own, and you're not getting enough deep sleep states during an evening, that autopilot starts to take from your day. Now, again, take that to our workforce. Our workforce have all got the same sort of issues. We all have love problems, children problems, money problems, work problems. We've all got the same happiness in all them areas, but we've all got these same worries. So it doesn't matter the role or the position or the level of depth in the company. We all have these problems that affect our sleep, which then takes us to sleep deprivation has the same impact as 2 pints of lager on the brain. It's a crazy statistic, but once you start to recognize it and realize it, you start to realize if you're in autopilot and alpha state, often in a day, you're unrested and you might not even feel it. How this then works with our shift work. When we have our employees and our teams going into this shift work that we've got, and it doesn't matter what times the shift is, shift work goes against our natural wake sleep cycle. This is called our circadian clock. Our circadian clock is basically what sends us to bed on an evening and what wakes us up in the morning. For those of you that are on the end of this laptop, if ever you've experienced the second wind, that we all call it, the second wind, that's basically your circadian clock. You wake up in the morning with a certain hormone called cortisol. This depletes in the afternoon, makes way for melatonin. Melatonin comes into the system and put you to bed. What do we all do? I'll have 5 more minutes and then we're wide awake. It's actually just down to your cortisol and melatonin cycles because they cycle around each other. So shift work, we go directly against our natural sleep-wake cycle, meaning those of us who've got teams that do shift work, we really need to make them aware of how important sleep is, especially because they're going against their natural sleep-wake cycle. It is the most important for them to make sure that the sleep quality that they're getting is really, really good. Not quantity. Notice I'm not saying quantity. I'm not saying quantity because as we were discussing earlier before we've come on, everybody's quantity is different of what you sleep, okay? But have you experienced sleeping a whole load of hours and waking up still feeling tired? This is your sleep quality. Quantity is not as important as quality. If you get a good quality sleep, even if it's only short bursts or short cycles, you will still improve everything else because you'll hit them deep sleep states. Now, some things that affect our sleep. Sleep apnea is something that is quite common. Now, sleep apnea, unfortunately, is quite often down to weight and weight around our bodies and our torsos. And it's quite simply because as we lay back, our airways become blocked. If you just look at the little picture, sleep apnea basically blocks the airwaves, it suffocates us and we wake up. Now, the problem with sleep apnea is some people can do it up to 20 times in an evening. Well, if you're getting woke up 20 times in an evening, the quality of sleep that you're getting is horrific. And more so because in order to transition through the sleep cycles I keep talking about, you've got stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you transition through all 4 within about 90 to 120 minutes. You've got stage 1 and stage 2 are your switch off stages, and 3 and 4 are where all of what we've talked about happens. Sleep apnea is waking you up non-stop. Therefore, you are not really hitting a deep sleep state. Therefore, you then have the cognitive impairment equivalent of having a blood alcohol level of 0.5%, and it transitions and transitions because you just never really catch up. Something else that can actually affect our sleep states is drink and drugs. Now, drugs is just a given anyway. Anything that you put into your system that heightens any sort of form or state is always going to wreak havoc with your sleep state. But drink is something that people aren't that aware of. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about drink here. Quite a few of us have a drink on an evening, yeah? 1, 2 drinks, whatever it is. Some of us have a few, some have just 1 or 2. But drink is something that's quite commonly associated with switching off on an evening. Now, where this has been mistaken is, what drink does is it allows you to switch off because it basically changes the receptors in the body to be aware of all of your surroundings, to just being aware of the ones directly in front of you. That's why if you've got stress or worry, it seems to help. It's basically a fake seems, because what drink actually does is it goes into our system recognizes it as a toxin. Our internal system fights against that toxin and tries to dissolve the drink into something that the body can use. It dissolves the drink into a sort of form of sugar, if you will. There's obviously a lot of science to this, but I'm just giving you the brief. It dissolves it into a form of sugar and then it tries to get rid of it out of our system. What that then does is that sugar goes into our liver. Let's say you've had a couple of drinks before you fall asleep on a night. That sugar goes into our liver. It keeps you from falling into a deep sleep state. Therefore, have you all experienced that drink sleep where you fall asleep, you feel like you're knocked out, you wake up and you feel horrible? A lot of us blame it on a hangover. Most of that is dehydration and fatigue, would you believe? And this is how drink affects. Now, it's not uncommon for someone to have a drink on an evening. And again, even our shift workers, they switch off by either getting in, having a couple of bottles, or getting in, having a glass of wine. Some of us might, even the normal shift, the day shift workers, it's quite common with falling asleep, but drink is one of the massive factors in not sleeping well, because when the body converts all this drink into sugar, it starts to wake us up. So although you think that you're asleep, you aren't transitioning to a deep sleep. Therefore, all of a sudden, when you wake up, you feel tired. Because you feel tired, you feel stressed. Because you feel stressed, you come at the end of the night, you want to wind down with a drink. See how they all cycle around each other? So sleep apnea, drink, and drugs are things that massively affect our sleep state. So what can we do about it? Let me just check the time. Perfect timing, okay? So what can we do about it? This is all the stuff that sleep has the effect on, all right? Whether it's you, whether it's your workforce, whether it's the people that you live with or your loved ones or your friends, sleep and lack of it affects everyone. How often have you heard someone say that they're tired? In fact, I'll ask you an easier question. How often have you heard someone say that they feel great today? Because that's a very uncommon phrase. And it's because of this cycle that we run in, because we feel tired and they feel tired and they feel tired. We just think it's common to feel tired. 90% of you said that you've experienced autopilot. Just put the test today. What time is it now? 1:30, all right? Let's see today how often you're going to autopilot. Let's see tomorrow how often you're going to autopilot. When you start to notice these zoning in and zoning out, oh, sorry about that. When you start to notice this zoning in and zoning out, what ends up happening is the brain, it will start to try and catch up on itself. And now you know that when you're in that actual area and you've got the cognitive impairment equivalent of having a blood alcohol level of 0.5%, notice the times in which you do it, because if you're experiencing it, your teams are experiencing it too. Now, what we can actually do about it, okay? We've got a 5-point switch off routine. This is where we come into this. We've developed a 5-point switch off routine that helps you transition from stage 1 to 3 quicker than what you are now. We actually improve the quality of your sleep, not the quantity. So if you've got your phones and devices, screenshot this. If you haven't got them, write it down. 5-point switch off routine, okay? Something that you can do that will actually help your sleep state. Open your posture on an evening. You've got a mind-body correlation. The more closed off the posture is, the more the subconscious becomes active. If you're a person that lays in bed very thoughtful and thinking non-stop, usually it's because you've closed the posture. The subconscious is then asking itself what's happening. Open the posture. Quite simply, just open the posture. If you lie on your side, take the arm you're not sleeping on and open it behind your back. Pillow positions, this helps the nervous system. If you lie on your back, put a pillow underneath your knees. If you lie on a side, put the pillow between your knees. The reason being, it actually mimics the silhouette of a human stood up. You wouldn't believe the amount of pressure you put on your nervous system by simply lying down. Eye mask, if you haven't got one, get one. Available on the link afterwards as well. I don't sell them, but I recommend one from Amazon, an eye mask. What they do, the dark behind the eyes that an eye mask provides actually increases the level of melatonin that we secrete. Melatonin is your switch off hormone. If you've got people on night shift, you want to be recommending eye masks to them because it'll help them switch off quicker. Breathing techniques. This is basically where you just relax the breath and breathe in. Again, all this is available with the website I'll give you at the end. Breathing techniques is where you just relax and breathe in and breathe out. Again, engaging your diaphragm like what you've just all done online with me earlier will help you naturally relax. And counting backwards. Now, counting backwards, this one actually tailors into the other session that we've got as well, where we help you offload your mind. But the reason why counting backwards works is it helps active thinkers switch off. So basically, you start counting backwards, start from around 250, allow your brain just to switch off. You'll probably think a couple of times, let them thoughts just come and go and start counting backwards again. All of these will help you transition to a deeper sleep state. If you'd be interested in how we actually do our routine, please contact me because I've got the notes and stuff that are ready for afterwards. But then the other things that we've got, top tips for you guys in your actual roles and workplaces. Educate our teams, all right? How many of you before this isn't a question that we've asked and I wish it was, how many of you before today knew that autopilot was a state of fatigue? How many of you knew that when you're in autopilot, you have a delayed reaction time of 7 to 12 seconds? Like it's lives at risk with stuff like that, you know? You've got this, teach them to recognize autopilot's a sign of sleep deprivation. You don't have to tell them, oh, you know, if you feel tired, then you might feel tired. One massive signal to your body, what autopilot is your brain basically saying, listen, if you don't switch off, I'm going to switch you off. And this is where we get all of our accidents, our risk assessments, everything. Rotas, including the downtime to take time out and things, okay? You could include little gaps. What I teach in the sessions that we provide to employees is we teach taking time out on your coffee break, dinner break, and evening break. Even if it's 5 minutes, we teach them breathing techniques that induce autopilot. So even if you do have stuff that is preventing you from sleeping, because sometimes we do have really bad stress. If you do have something that's preventing you from sleeping, these little downtime 5 minutes will make you make autopilot catch up on itself. So rather than autopilot taken from their day, they sit it down and take it from the time that they give it, reducing the risk, reducing the accidents. This next one, open a place for them to say that this is happening. You know, I'm not feeling the best and I'm a bit off my game. This has been unbelievable in the oil industry when we've been working with them. Not many people will admit that they're tired and struggling. They just won't. Now, this isn't saying open a place where people stand up and put their hands up and say, oh, this is my problem. This is basically saying, if you bring them in and educate your teams on what fatigue is and the issues that they've got, it's life threatening if they're doing some of the roles that they're doing. These offshore guys that I've worked with, some of their jobs, it's just like catastrophic if it went wrong. And they didn't realize that these near misses that they had is because they're tired. They just thought it was near misses because they were clumsy that day. Understanding the science of sleep, like you've all just done now, once you start realizing how it works, it takes the pressure off not actually getting it. And I'm a very firm believer in prevention is better than cure. Give all of this stuff first before we start having more accidents. Something that I like to say in some of my sessions, and this is just a little quote from my business, a well-run company starts with a well-rested team. If you are all well-rested, or even if you understand that if you're not well-rested, you can actually address it and do something about it, it will make a massive, massive difference to what you actually do and what you get accomplished that day. And it will really raise morale, function, productivity. It even improves your chance of risk, you know, all these different things. A well-run company starts with a well-rested team. And last but not least, how can we help? So here at Purely Balanced, we are actually offering free pilots available to show you what we can do to help your team. We've been in and around all different industries. We've got references, we've got recommendations. We've got 2 base sessions, which are an hour each, which is a sleep session and a Be Kind to Your Mind. The pilot, I'll need about an hour of your time or an hour and a half if you want to include shift rotations in there. And that's all for free, completely for free. So you can contact me on there just to show you what we actually do and how we can do it. We also offered tailored programs if you've got areas that you need and want to address. There's the website, which is purelybalanced.co.uk. That's the email direct to me, which is emma.cook@purelybalanced.co.uk. I do believe that all this is going to be made available for you at the end. Slides are available for you as well. Again, can't emphasize enough, it's all for free if you want to try and see what we do. And if anybody would like more information on the 5-point routine, send me an email and I'll send you the link to our information site as well, where it's all on there. Okay, so I shall cut this off and come back. I shall leave it up, David. What do you want me to do?
You can take it down at this stage.
There you go.
Thank you.
Right, let's answer some questions.
Okay, before I go on to question, I'll put up some comments. In the chat room, there have been some interesting links put in. Paul Appleton, many thanks for guidance from the rail sector for health safety strategy for working patterns and fatigue. That's on there as well. There's some IOSH publications on shift workers being put up there as well by, I think by Dimple as well. We had a 2015 publication that's in the chat room as well. I would ask whether Dimple at IOSH webinars, if you could actually add these links maybe to our web page or something as well to support the conversation. I can't promise that, but we'll ask. I'm thinking out loud here. Somebody asked questions about zoning out, about there are other reasons for zoning out, and I had a quick look on the internet. I have put a link up there. For zoning out, there is more than one reason for it, but this is we only have a short slot here, and this is a huge topic. And what I'm hoping today is this will actually instigate for you guys to do some thinking. Can we have the second set of 2 questions, please, put up, please, for everybody? Because we like you to take things away from these sessions. I can go back to some more chat comments afterwards. And there have been some very honest comments made to me, which I shan't share with all of you, for 1 or 2, especially around sleep apnea. For the record, I'm overweight. People who see me know it. I have got mild sleep apnea, and I have actually gone to Oxford Hospital for the sleep clinic. I got a dreadful night's sleep there. It was too hot and it was stuffy. And I have had my snoring recorded by my wife, and that's when that's when I went to my GP and said, I've got a problem. Do we have the answers, please, for the poll?
I'll come back to the zoning out comment as well, David, if I can. Let's have a little look.
So look at the quick poll results first quickly. So there we go. So I'm afraid those of you in practice, you've got maybe some risk assessments to look at there. And maybe you've got to do some engagement with your staff, because we can go to questions like how often do you engage with your staff on shift work in terms of working pattern. One person said that actually they worked on there on a site, and because they wanted to reduce the shift length to 8 hours at night time, they actually ended up resigning. There were 12-hour night shifts, and I thank you for your honesty there with that. I used to work for Emirates Minerals, and I did do for my MSc dissertation, I did look at the effects of shift work. And at the time I found some literature, so I'm going back quite a long time, but unlike technology, human beings haven't changed a lot in another 20 years since I did my master's dissertation. There was an effect on accidents in the 8 to 10 hour period. So once people worked over 8 hours, there was a paper that identified there was this accident rates did go up at that level. And somebody else made a question on the Q&A about statistics being 70% of accidents with effects had sleep as a contributing factor. That's actually American road traffic. And we have to consider that we only have 130 accidents at work in the UK, but of course RIDDOR excludes road traffic accidents. So I think we have to remember that as well, all of you. And noting that this is the logistics and retail group and the rail group involved in this as well. So there are people driving vehicles and machines on there as well for the day job. So those are some of the comments there, which are brilliant, and thank you very much. I've got 38 new messages have come in. We won't have a chance to go through all of them. So I would please ask you to discuss them in your safety meetings, and that's something I picked up. Now the Q&A is there, and I'll try and pick up some. So Annie says she's been using
yeah.
Emma introduced this to a couple of months ago and it works.
Here we go. Shall I have a read through them, David? Okay, then the next one. Can you remind us of the pillow positions? So on your back is underneath your knees, on your side is between your knees, and on your front is no pillow at all if you can. So let's have a little look. Do you have to go at the bottom to come to the top?
No, let me come to the questions.
Okay, go on then.
I will try and filter around something as well. So someone mentions sleep apnea. If it is diagnosed by a doctor, you must renew your driving license until it's controlled, and there are machines there. There are lots of publications, have actually been TV documentaries on sleep apnea. And again, you've got to remember that I mentioned I was overweight. Remember the fatal accident in Glasgow with a refuse vehicle that actually crashed and killed 6 people. The gentleman there concerned who was driving did have a health problem. He was a rather large gentleman. So someone's asked, how is sleep quality different from person to person, irrespective of the work that they do?
Sleep quality?
Yeah, how is sleep quality different from person to person, irrespective of the work that they do?
Yeah, so take out all the work anyway. The sleep quality that you get depends on how well rested you are. There's a saying that I often say that says sleep is 2 different areas. One is that requires actual sleep, and one that requires peace. So there's one that requires rest, one that requires peace. Peace is in the sense of a state of mind. If you go to bed and you've got an active mind, if you're a natural worrier, if you are a person that's just high alert all the time, and that doesn't mean like a neurotic kind of mindset. It's someone that's just very on the ball, me, for example, someone that's quite active. When you sleep, the quality of sleep that you get can be disrupted because mindset, if you haven't offloaded your mind, it could be the fact that you're alert to things that are in the areas. It's all different ways that your quality can be changed and can be impaired. The quality of sleep that you get depends on how well rested you feel in the morning. These people that come up with all the Fitbit things, most actual devices weren't built to test sleep. They put sleep in after because sleep became popular, and yet we go off them. My advice would be just try the techniques that we teach, improve the quality of sleep that you get as in how well you rest and how quickly you rest, which is where we're a little bit different. The 5-point routine that we give, if you notice, doesn't change much of what you do. It just gives you something like actions to do on an evening. That'll improve the level of sleep that you fall through. Because if you're quite active, you'll stay in levels 1 and 2 where you're switching off. And then it means the quality of sleep that you get isn't the best. So we improve the quality first, and then it'll start to improve the quantity. But different people are subject to different things. Some people will wake up at a noise outside. Some people will wake up at the partners. Some people sleep through it all. The way to judge whether you're getting a good quality is whether you wake up rested, and definitely that unrested test that we've done.
Brilliant. Next one. this may be an interesting question. It's about the 70% Richard's pointed out due to work.
That's the human factor of it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there was a steady basis of studying stated 11% of accidents were due to fatigue. Again, we need to actually look at the broader range of articles there, and of course, considering driving at work and work. So I think we should maybe go back and just double check the literature. But again, a Google Scholar search will pick that up.
Yeah, I look at the human factors of stuff. It's when you look at the human factor, if you look at accidents that were performed with humans involved, if you then look at what was behind them and you ask their quality and the pattern or the health assessments or whether they've been sleeping, the majority of people that have had accidents, have been involved in accidents, haven't had a good sleep quality leading up to that accident. It's the human factor in all of it, the way that I've took all the research from. Not the actual overall, just different areas of work. It's just the human element. But yeah, we can look at all the scholarships and get all that up. We can send it all across.
The next one is, what's the definition of sleep deprivation? Is it one night or how many nights in a row?
Okay, so yeah,
that's the first question. Yeah.
Yep. So sleep deprivation, you have something called sleep debt that you're allowed. So you're allowed one evening of poor quality sleep before you're classed as sleep deprived. So one evening. However, this is a really, really grey area because the chances are we're probably all a little bit sleep deprived already because of the way that the current economy is, the worries that we've all got going on. Our sleep is the first thing to be affected. So as much as it is, or one bad night's sleep you can get away with, technically, did you really sleep that good the night before? But if you'd had a good run and you'd slept really well for 3 nights, one bad night's sleep you can get away with. Anything above 1, so the second night, the third night, the fourth night, that's classed as sleep deprivation. By the time you get to night 2, so let's say, for example, you all go to bed tonight, don't sleep very well. Tomorrow you should be okay. If tomorrow night you don't sleep very well neither, then you're classed as sleep deprived, and then you've got the cognitive impairment equivalent of the blood alcohol level of 0.5%. What was the second part of the question?
Second one is, I've got to find it now, because a lot more questions have come in. We'll come back to that. Apologies, I might have lost the question. There's a lot in here at the moment. Sorry about that. How about effects of late night snacking on meal to help staying awake? In some workplaces, such as hotels and customer service organisations, it's normal that employers prepared late night meals for them.
Is that for them to work through the night shift, or is that for them to finish shift and eat?
Yeah.
Which work through the night shift or finish shift?
Yeah. How about effects of late night snacking with the help staying awake? So it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Okay. Yeah. So if it's to help stay awake, so one of the other things that we cover in the sessions that we do is actually how to stay awake better. It's better to hydrate yourself than it is to snack on loads of sugary stuff. However, I do more than understand why they would do that, because the more that you eat, but then it depends on what you eat, you see, because if you eat high heavy foods, you'll feel more lethargic because your body's got to digest it. But if I could recommend anything for evenings and staying awake, it's hydration, and only health permitting that you can, it's water and salt. So if you look at all the top athletes, they rehydrate by drinking water and salt, and I literally mean like salt, like a 20 pence worth on your hand, and sprinkling it into some water and drinking it. As awful as it sounds, what it does is the actual intake of the sodium and the water at the same time rehydrate and replenish the body. So if you are one of these people, food will get you there because of the sugars that it releases, but even in the research that I've done, it doesn't give you that extra bump. It's the same as caffeine. Caffeine doesn't technically wake you up, it just stops the receptors telling you that you're tired. But it's the hydration, it's the water in the coffee that starts to wake you up too. Coffee does obviously help, but it doesn't actually wake you up, it just stops you from feeling tired. So hydration is key there. But yeah, I do understand snacking and I get that. Just try not to eat 2 hours before bed.
Interesting. There have been some interesting questions about, so Slav has written in saying, how would you respond to this point from HSE letter to industry dated 10th of July this year, that arrangements are in place to monitor factors including fatigue and personal circumstances to ensure individual well-being? So any thoughts on how to meet the HSE expectation in practical terms? And I've also seen, noting the question about lack of risk assessment earlier. Somebody asked a question, Joseph asked a question, what are the typical questions to ask during interview for incident investigation to see if people involved our lack of sleep. They may simply say, no, I don't have a lack of sleep. So
you could just ask the autopilot question. How many people experience autopilot?
So I think in the interview process, again, somebody's mentioned the question about sleep apnea, that if someone declares it, or in fact, if someone declares it at work, they'll lose their job.
Yeah.
So I think, and somebody else has hit the question here, because I don't think there's a simple answer how we actually manage risk. I had an individual when I worked for, and I've actually found my statement before the civil claim that didn't happen, when the guy had gone from a day shift all his life to a job he was doing rotating shift, and part of that rotating shift was night shift. And he refused to go on the trial process during his trial period. And once he actually said, look, his old job was lost, and he chose, I will not take redundancy, I'll take the job on shift work. He starts complaining to me that he was pulling his car over half a mile after he finished his work to fall asleep for 2 or 3 hours. And then came the claim around about his job role. So it's back to this, how do we manage it in personal circumstances? So, and it's back to somebody else. Somebody asked the question, there's a great opportunity that IOSH should do more research in this area. And I think that to me is...
I think it's definitely up and coming, fatigue, definitely. So
I think I'm going to let you out of answering that question about responding to the point, because I put a comment in. I think we need to do more about it. And I think more studies are needed. But this is a very, very difficult. And again, Anthony said you should not ask about sleep apnea at an interview. That's correct. There should be appropriate medical part. This is, please, so those with HR background, there should be appropriate health-related questions asked outside of interview to establish suitability for the job. Is that roughly HR law? Can someone put me a little comment in the comment there?
Can I just answer Simon Jackson? I've just read something there. Is it significant Pure Advanced is not engaged with the construction industry? No, Maze Construction's in the middle of talking to me about working with them. That's just some of the areas that I've worked in. Just some, Simon, if you're still on.
So how long does it take to retrain your body into a new sleep cycle routine and change your body clock?
Oh, do you know what? Everybody's different with that. It's consistency. Consistency is key completely. Why we've developed the 5-point routine that we have is because it's really easy to use. And once you start feeling better from it, everything else falls into place. So it's not even a matter of trying and training yourself. Just try it each night. It's consistency. You need to put reminders in your phone or bits and pieces. I mean, we've gone over some stuff there in a very, very short period of time. That 5-point routine that I've give you in the session that I do, I teach an hour on how to sleep better. I don't teach an hour on the science of sleep. I teach a full hour on how to sleep better. So that's only a very small part of it. But try that for now to get your quality back to normal. And like I say, if you'd be interested, we offer the free pilot to businesses. So you can give that a go as well. David, can I have a quick flick through these questions? Because there's quite a lot that we've missed. I can answer them all quite quickly.
We'll pick on them afterwards. What we could generally do is do a background, is try and do a catch up with you, record it onto Zoom, and then upload it, because we only have a limited time with the link with the Zoom link, it is shared. Granville's asked the question, what is the best or better shift working? Do you have any thoughts on that? It's a very short question for a very long answer potentially.
Yeah, is that aimed at me? The best and better shift working? You can't really comment on that because each of your employees is completely different. The only thing that you could do is actually work it the other way around and give them the knowledge on sleep, how to sleep better, and how to switch off on the breaks that they've got. Therefore, they've got adequate time to rest in between shift. Give them the power, because you're always going to get someone that complains about something, and everybody's body cycle's different. Body cycles then go into age, gender, ethnicity, the lot, because we've all got different geographics on how and where we were born and how things work. There's so many different factors into what's the best way that works. The best thing for geographically where we are, as in the UK based right now, is if people can sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Well, some of them shift workers can't. So how to get the best out of a shift working would be get people to work in the first 2 hours, get them to do the most cost-effective results, so the most taxing issues, the most thoughtful issues, and then as the shift tailors off, get them to do lesser things like that. But timing and stuff is you can't really answer that. But yeah, just teaching them how to be different on shift would just help them anyway.
Billy's asked a question, are random sobriety tests a useful way to monitor for fatigue?
What's about a random?
Billy, are we on to drug and alcohol testing here, are we? To link into that for that is to reactions. It's a question put there, but that may need some further.
Ask another one.
Further expanding. Somebody made a comment, we need the government to support the provision of improved, safe and secure parking facilities for HGV drivers. It's a massive issue for truck drivers and affects drivers' sleep. And that's something else that's something we discussed before the meeting. I mean, yes, it is. Do we have any specific trick for easy sleep, especially when shift work?
Yeah, that 5-point routine. Honestly, it's not, I'm not just saying it because we built it. Like, it really does work. The reason why the oil industry went crazy for it is because the guys came out of it going, bloody hell, what a difference. It's turning the body off rather than turning the mind off. That 5-point routine that we've got switches you scientifically off. It opens the posture, switches the subconscious off. Pillow position switches the nervous system off. Breathing brings you back to homeostasis, sends the relaxation hormone through your system. Eye mask improves melatonin, which is your switch off hormone. So if you want fast, effective cat naps, if you will, power naps, that 5-point routine. And the reason why we teach it for our fatigue sessions is because not many people can get a whole load of sleep in one go. So we give you the best ability to fall back asleep and get to a deeper sleep state quicker. Therefore, you improve the quality again, which will naturally improve the quantity, but it wouldn't matter. Even if you had a 20-minute nap that was really good and a deep quality sleep, like the power naps, it's still effective. And that's why our 5-point routine comes into practice.
Going back to Billy's question about sobriety, it's about reaction time. So are there tests there are there tests available to detect reaction times for people for sleepness?
There has been tests done. Yeah, there's been loads of testing on reaction times. There was a thing called, I think, The Science of Sleep on, it was like Channel 4, something random. I mean, they were very, very commercial tests. But yeah, there's loads and loads of studies that have been done on fatigue and delayed reaction times. And the Huffington Post is someone that's quite heavily into that. David, I sent you the article from them, didn't I?
Shift work with and without night work as a risk factor for fatigue and changes in sleep length.
Yeah.
A cohort study with linkage to records on a daily working hours. Harmer et al. 2017. It's a Finnish study from Finland, so I found it.
There's another point as well, which is 40% of shift workers claim to get less than 6 hours sleep a night. Small statistic, but when you start looking at the actual fact behind that, now that you know the difference in that, it's massive. And you know what, guys, I understand that your roles and where you are all at online listening to me now, some people don't really know where to go with this sort of stuff. And this is one of the reasons why we offer the free pilot, because it's hard to understand where to start when there's such a variety out there and you've got all these different areas. So honestly, even if you just want to email in for advice for yourself, please just feel free, because I want to help as many people as we can. Okay. But yeah,
I'd ask for no more questions to come in now. We'll try and pick up what we can for the next couple of minutes.
Let's have a little look.
Does Purely Balanced provide any equipment that can monitor an individual sleep efficiency? I understand there are units out there that can be worn.
We don't, but we worked with a company called Fatigue Science, and I'm actually in the middle of working with them because they were the ones that recognized the fact that our sessions helped average out a deeper sleep within the oil industry. They were working with one of our clients at the same time we went out there, and I've actually asked them to provide me with some bands. There has just been a sleep band brought out. The name eludes me at the moment, but there's been a sleep band that's specific for sleep as well. But no, we don't actually provide it. We just got contacted by the company that we'd worked with to tell us that it did.
Yeah, Rosemary Tinker, yes, thank you for that. In going through, got carried away with the exercises. Yes, we exhale air that includes oxygen. Generally, it's 5 or 6% lower than what we breathe in. That's why CPR works, doesn't it? Because you're breathing in when you're doing CPR, allegedly you're breathing in exhaled air. But let's not go down the route about how effective CPR and that is. So that's noted. Thank you for that. Rosemary, it's great. No problem. Thank you.
Let's have a look at these questions.
The waste industry private sector has many sites that work long days and long shifts as they allowed as legislation and gives guidance. Do you think we should work together to help reducing shift patterns using the working time directive with HSE guidance? Do you want me
Say
to
that again.
I mean, having been on the having worked with waste sector, I think the waste sector needs to work onto that, because the shift patterns generally, they're only 2 shifts. I mean, energy from waste plants obviously around the clock when they're working, but there's very few number of people there. The working time directive, I think it's not so much the working directive, but suitability of people working shift work. And it's the working time regulations in the UK, isn't it? So how, question is, should maybe I can rephrase it. Do you think the HSE should enforce the working time regulations? Yes, I think I will answer that question in that way. Time is short, and you've answered the question about equipment. Are there any other tests or exercise that may help to assess whether we are sleep deprived? We've covered test and equipment a bit earlier. Is there an objective test to see if a person involved is lack of sleep instead, or simply asking? And the research report is RR446. Thank you, Paul. I'm trying to keep 2 or 3 sets. Anthony Akari's put a link down here. Gov.uk, night working hours, health assessment.
These are reading all that. Let's have a little look at these.
Anthony. Okay. I work in the UAE where people work long shifts, go to bed late and get up early to pray. This is exasperated during Ramadan. What extra things can we do for this? Eric, that's a very tough question.
Got to bed late, get up early, pray.
That may be
no, it's not. Again, it comes in. Eric, it comes into that. And I keep saying it, but and I am sorry, but it's really true. That 5-point routine, it gets you to sleep in a deeper sleep state. So I used to work really, really intensely with new mums. Now, of all the shift workers in the world, women that have to get woke up, or even new dads, but the people that get woke up from newborn babies that get woke up every 2 or 3 hours, it's similar to being disrupted in their sleep because they've got to get up and get active. This started working really well with them. This is what made me take it into industries. If you use the 5-point routine, you are more likely to fall into a deeper sleep state again. So you'll get a better quality sleep. At the moment, when you switch off and then you're trying to sleep, all of a sudden the body's gone back through the sleep cycles, even though you've deliberately woke it up. So if you put the sleep routine into practice, you help transition from stage 1 to stage 3. There's all different things as well. There's other things like binaural beats. There's a lot of things that you can add in to incorporate that. But you're welcome to message me in and ask that more direct.
Brilliant. Okay. So that's done there. We're getting down the questions. Is there any evidence on improved bedroom ventilation?
Yes, there is. A cold bedroom and fresh air, just because of the way it works within your system. A cool bedroom is something that it took me a while to get used to, because I'm a person that likes everything quite warm. And I've done a lot of research behind me. I've got about 12 or 13 years worth of research behind me, and I've looked at everything from self-development right up to quantum physics and all the bits in between. And the bits that I've found are the most useful are things like the way that the body works. So we take people back to being human. We look at the human factor in it. And if you actually ventilate the room with clean, fresh air, even if the air outside isn't the best, clean, fresh air, it actually has a natural effect on the body. It's switching you off because it kicks in our hunter-gatherer systems and our old neurological programs. It's unbelievable when you start looking into it. I now won't go to bed without the window open, and I'm not a window open person, but the quality of sleep that I get, the difference is unbelievable. But a cool room before you fall asleep and a ventilated room when you are asleep is fantastic. Someone's asked about qualifications as well. I don't understand what that means though. Like what?
We'll touch back later. I mean,
okay.
Interesting. I'm picking up on something. I did my MSc dissertation in shift work many years ago, and that was interesting. And one of the recommendations I came up with that people need to maybe consider a sleep break on night shift, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And someone's asked the question. I was told that the body healing happens during the sleep between 2 and 4. If is it true? And how can shift workers ensure that their body will be healed when they are night workers? And I want to come in before you answer that. I'm going to throw in something here, and I know we have gone up past the time.
I'm okay if they're okay.
The link goes. I was involved in for those who don't know, I'm doing an MBA through the university myself, and we picked up about how employers drop bad news on people, and people wake up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock, most important time, worried, and don't get back to sleep again. So I think that's the same thing. It's,
where did you get the 3 o'clock thing? Because all the stuff.
From an academic I heard 3 hours ago, so I had no chance to do any.
Oh well, no. So Matthew Walker, who is like literally the world's sleep expert, it's between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. that your best quality of sleep is. It's geographically where we are. For those of you who aren't in the UK, that will differ. Geographically from where we are, it's 10 till 2. And we actually used to, pre-industrial age, have a wake-up time of 2 o'clock in the night till 3 or 4, go back to sleep, and we had a second sleep. And some of the reasons why we actually wake up is due to our epigenetics. There's so much behind it that it's unbelievable. But the way to ensure shift work, one of the problems that you've got with shift work is it goes against your health. That's the problem, no matter what way you look at it. But we can't help but have to do it. And it's the same as all the other things, you know, using cars and things like that. It's all got issues and impacts on us. But how to help shift workers is to improve their quality of sleep that they do get, no matter what way you want to look at it, even if they're sleeping different to what they need to. If they get a deep sleep state, that's good enough. Melatonin is one of the keys as well. When they sleep while everything else is awake, the world's light. So you need the dark room, you need the dark behind the eyes, the eye masks. The darker you can make it as a shift worker in your room, the better your sleep quality will be, because your melatonin will increase. So it's your melatonin and your cortisol levels that help it's a deep sleep state that help your body heal. If you hit a deep sleep state, your body will heal. Okay, right. I'm going to have, time is being pulled down on us. We're being given like 30 seconds to disappear. Free the Zoom link up. You can email me in.
I'm going to thank you. And I have one question which I am going to ask, but I don't know answer. Because it's back to this use of mobile technology and people who link their work account email to their private phone.
Yeah.
Do you think that affects, when you get these messages coming out late at night or off record was a problem? Can you have on a Friday, I want this job done by Monday? It could be a problem. Do you think that employers and employees are in a way affecting their sleep? Bear in mind that when people get worried and stressed, they don't sleep. So back to organizational things and back into where health and safety has to fit in with the broader strategy of the business. So that's my final point. Emma, thank you very much. We will touch base in a minute on Teams. Yeah. And to everybody, I'll see some of you hopefully tomorrow night when I'm talking about the update on WISH. In 2 weeks' time, EWNG looking at Kent Resource Partnership. And for those in the logistics and retail group and rail group, great to have you in here. Fantastic. The links you sent in, thank you, appreciated. Time to go. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye.